So, without further ado, إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما ثم أما بعد Inshallah, the topic that I mentioned that we wanted to talk about today and we'll be talking about for the next, inshallah, 4 weeks is the building blocks of a community. يعني مكونات الجالية مسلمة أو جالية إسلامية. The ingredients needed in order to have a real Muslim community. The core essentials. And this is a topic that I thought about for a while. It's a topic that is well beyond the scope of just one sitting or even 4. But our time is always limited. And so we're going to do our best attempt to try to scratch the surface. Because we have more than 77 masajid in Minnesota alone. 77 masajid in Minnesota alone. And that was a survey that was done by CARE, the Council of American and Islamic Relations. They did the whole state. 77 masjids. That includes the metro area, those northern towns that are far out north, all over, Faribault, etc. SubhanAllah. Just want to get his dad. That's Hamid's son. Somebody want to get him? Nope, that's not his dad. Hamid is his dad. Brother, can you go get him and take him to his dad, brother? He's in the recording room. He's in the recording room upstairs. Tayyib. So this topic is extremely important because there's so many different masajid and there are still messages that are cropping up. But if you visit most of them on any given day, that's not Friday, that's not Saturday, not during Jumu'ah. So if you visit it on a Friday and any time after Jumu'ah, or if you visit them Saturday, Sunday, you're going to see some activities, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, at any given time, most of those places are just empty buildings. Most of those places are just empty buildings. And so it would beg the question, is that really a community? When the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he first built a masjid, is that the idea that he had in mind, just to have a building that looks nice, that has nice expensive carpet or an expensive chandelier and nice equipment, but no people? I would put forward to you that's not what the Prophet ﷺ intended. Because first and foremost, 13 years the Prophet ﷺ was in Mecca as a prophet, meaning from the time that he was 40, when he initially received Nubuwah, when he initially received prophethood with his first encounter with the Archangel Gabriel, and he was made a prophet with Iqra, Bismi Rabbika alladhi khalaq. From that time on until he was 53 years old, 13 years, he's in Mecca. They didn't build one masjid. They didn't build one masjid. Matter of fact, they used to meet secretly in the house of Arqam ibn Abil Arqam, who he was only about 16 years old, and he lived a little bit further out on the outskirts of Mecca, and they used to just meet at his house secretly. Because his dad wasn't Muslim, so they figured, you know, that's like the perfect place because nobody's going to suspect. But my point is, what is that the Prophet ﷺ, that wasn't his first idea of community. He spent 13 years doing something entirely different. Not investing in the payment for a large building and even a center with a library and basketball court and a gym and community room and like gathering spaces and classrooms. He spent his first 13 years investing in people. He spent his first 13 years, the first 13 years of blood, sweat, and tears and sacrifice and challenges and difficulties and even starvation and social sanctions, and people don't even want to do business with them or talk to them, marry them, or deal with them at all. He put all of that, he invested in people. What kind of people? Those kind of people, the people that came out of that 13 years of investment. You got people like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, who were willing to give. At that point, now that the Prophet ﷺ invested in him, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, when he's asked to give now and give sadaqah, right, and to give money to the masjid, or to give to the cause of La ilaha illallah, Prophet ﷺ ain't even got to worry about it. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq ready to give every last dime that he got. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, the Prophet ﷺ invested time and effort with him. When it came time after that investment, Umar ibn Khattab, he was willing to give half of what he owned for the cause of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Did they have a nice fancy building? Did they even have a modest building? No, they didn't have nothing because they didn't have a masjid at all. Matter of fact, by the time they do get around to that in Islamic history, by the time that the Prophet ﷺ finally does build a masjid, what is it? What's the masjid, y'all? The first masjid that the Prophet ﷺ built. أول مسجد في الإسلام ما هو؟ Who said that? Ya salam. That's the first masjid, Quba. And that's the first thing he does, right, when he reaches the outskirts of Medina. He's not even in Medina proper yet. But when he finally does get to Medina, and y'all know the story, right? He let his camel lead the way, and where she settled down, that's where he built a masjid. The masjid y'all see right now, if you look at the pictures and you look online and you look on Facebook, and you know how you can see the Salat and Masjid al-Nabawi, right? And the pillars, they have gold on them, and it has retractable domes where it like silently, like it opens and it don't even make noise. And there's even a courtyard area, akhi, where it's so beautiful, it looks like a dream. There's like umbrellas that open up and close in the masjid. Umbrellas, these that look like flowers when they open up, subhanallah. And it's a whole courtyard area. That wasn't there during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. When they built the masjid there, they didn't even have carpet. They used to pray on a dirt floor. Even then, even when he finally did make a building, he was still busy investing in what? In people. The Prophet ﷺ was still giving all of his time and his effort to people. But now, Allah musta'an, in our communities, in many communities across the United States, including in the Twin Cities, you oftentimes see a lot of investment, a lot of time, and a lot of effort, right? All for the name of building a community. You see them investing in what? In buildings, in things, in structures. And I'm not saying that's wrong. It's not bad. We need institutions. We need infrastructure as a Muslim community. But that's not where the bulk of resources, times, and effort are supposed to go into. The bulk of the effort and time and sacrifice and mentorship and everything is supposed to be put in the people. That's what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did, is that he gave most of his time and effort. And when he did that, that's when he was building community. Because communities aren't buildings. Communities are made up of people. Communities are made up of what? Of people. Because la qaddar Allah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. If the building crashes down or burns down, or if it gets run over by a tornado, like what happened over in Carolina, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alleviate those people suffering and their difficulties. If a masjid gets destroyed, does that mean there's no more community? No. There would still be community as long as there's what? As long as there's people. As long as you got the people and they're together, then you got community. That's the most important thing. So my thesis here about what I want to talk about, right, are 4 core essential ingredients in order to work towards getting that community. Like the Sahaba, like the Tabi'een, and those people who came before us, those luminaries in Islam who, when you read their stories that are motivational and inspirational, like because of how much they were willing to do, even sometimes when they had so little. Sometimes that might even be what have caused somebody to embrace Islam. They read the stories of the brotherhood and the sisterhood that Muslims had with each other, and they be like, yo, that's the Islam that I want. I want that kind of brotherhood and sisterhood. I want that kind of community. For some people, a lot of people who embrace Islam, sometimes that's what makes them become Muslim. Sometimes it's not even all about the Aqidah and, you know, God is one and he has no children and the angels and the books. Sometimes people don't even know that. They just be like, man, I see they observe like a real community, and they be like, yo, I want that. Whatever that is right there, the way those brothers treat each other, the way those sisters talk to each other, the way those people help each other with their kids, and they're willing to give money, and they're willing to babysit, and they're willing to help, and they're willing to give this and that. They be like, I want that. And I've witnessed that with my own eyes. Where brothers just simply, wallahi, I'm gonna share one quick story that I didn't have planned, but one quick story of a brother who I observed him become Muslim. All he did was come to a Muslim barbecue at a brother's house. And this brother, he had a barbecue and he invited families. And this was like back in like 2000, maybe like 2008, 2007, right? I was only here for the summer, in between studies at the Islamic University. So we go to this brother's house, and all the sisters, because the brother had bought a new house, all the sisters were upstairs in his house with his wife, and they was cooking, and they had their food and everything. It was a potluck, and then the brother was in his garage, and he had all the brothers sitting around, and we was all chilling, and you had the kids running back and forth, right? Playing with their dad, doing something or whatever, and then they'd run back and they was playing with their moms. But it was this nice Muslim vibe of all these Muslims, this nice little community. And then one of the brothers, he brought a friend with him who was a non-Muslim. And this guy, he had just lost his apartment. He had just lost his girlfriend, right? And he had just lost his job. And he was about to join the Marines. He was just about to join the Marines. Now, if y'all don't know about the Marines, out of all the different armed forces, the ones that are most likely to fight are the Marines. You got the Air Force, you got the Navy, and you got the Army. But the first boots on the ground, whenever there's a war that pops off in America, the first people to go are the United States Marines. So essentially what he was saying is, I'm sick of this life and I want to go do something worthwhile and meaningful, but I don't want to live here long, so I want to go. That's why he wanted to join the Marines. And so now here he happens to come with his Muslim friend, and he comes to this barbecue, and he's seeing this scene, brothers talking with each other, and they're clean. Nobody's cussing, nobody's swearing, everybody's respectful. There's a distance between the men and the women, right? This respectful distance. But brothers, they go talk to their wife, they deal with their wife, and he sees their kids, and you know, fathers are there with their children, and he was there for like an hour. And then the brother who brought him, they went for a walk. And then when he came back, he said, I want to be Muslim. And of course, everybody's like, Allahu Akbar. MashaAllah, this guy, he wants to be Muslim. And of course, right, which always happens when somebody embraces Islam, everybody says, well, why do you want to be Muslim? Like, what's your story? What's going on? What happens? Why you want to be Muslim? And he said, I don't know too much about Islam, but if this is what Islam is, and he was pointing to the children, and he was pointing to all these brothers who were fathers, and he was like, and this, all this, and the way y'all are, he's like, man, this is so beautiful to me. He's like, right now, I just lost my job. I don't got no source of money. My girlfriend just left me. I don't have no companionship, and I just lost my place. He's like, and I wanted to join the Marines because if any of you have ever talked to a recruiter before, right, they tell you you're going to join this brotherhood and you're going to be a part of this camaraderie, and right, and they're going to take care of you, and they're going to take care of your education. They're going to pay for your school. But they tell you what, that the Marines, they say we're a brotherhood. We're a fraternity. Like even after you leave the Marines, right, as long as you say you're a Marine, they don't have to know who you are, but they be like, hoorah, that's my brother right there. I don't know him, but he's in the Marines and I'm in the Marines. He was looking for that. But he saw it right there, not from somebody who had to do 4 years of active duty and go fight somewhere or whatever. He was like, I see that right now, that fraternity and that brotherhood and that coming together. He's like, man, I want that. And there are so many people who that's how they come to embrace Islam, because they see the Muslims and they see what they're doing and they see how they behave and they see how they conduct themselves. And so because of that, they want to be Muslim too. So then what are the core ingredients for us to be able to exude that kind of character and air and make people feel like they want to be a part of what we're doing? There are 4 things that we need, brothers and sisters. 4 core things. We need more than 4 things. But there are 4 core essentials. And the first one, right, is knowledge. We need to have sacred knowledge. That's number 1. And inshallah, that's what we're going to be talking about in more detail tonight. And the second one is, you got to follow that up with actions. Right? You can't just have a bunch of information in your head, right, where you sound interesting at iftar parties or, right, when you get to gatherings and you be like, oh yeah, I know about this usul al-fiqh issue and this qawa'id fiqhiyya, and, right, and you, mashallah, you sound like you know a lot. But how much you do is something different? No. We need action. Right? That you follow up what you know and what you learn. And inshallah, bithnillah, we'll be talking about that next week. And then thirdly is da'wah. Right? Da'wah. And can anybody here tell me, what does da'wah mean? Where's he at? There he is. Nuruddin. Nah. Nuruddin, can you tell me what da'wah means? You don't remember from the class? Remember, knowledge, actions, da'wah. You remember what that means? Do you remember who you got to do it for? Huh? You got to do it for Allah, but to who? Who you going to make da'wah to? To Allah? Well, you got, maybe because you don't remember the definition. Huh? Da'wah to the people? But what does da'wah mean though? An invitation. We got to invite the people. And this is really important. A lot of us, we think we know what da'wah is and we don't. Some people think da'wah is only for non-Muslims. And you'll see some non-Muslims, some Muslims, they say, we have to make da'wah to these non-Muslims and we only want to talk about these Muslims. We got to tell them to come to Islam and so on and so forth. Yeah, we do. But that's only a part of da'wah. That's not all of da'wah. But some people, they make it like that. And then you have other Muslims who say, wallahi, the Muslims got so many issues and problems, we only got to make da'wah to Muslims. And then when the Muslims get right, then we got to make da'wah to the non-Muslims. And quite frankly, that ain't right either. How would that sound if I embraced Islam? If I was a non-Muslim and then I became Muslim and my grandmother's non-Muslim? I have to wait for the whole Muslim ummah to get right, and then I can make da'wah to my grandma? Or if my relatives or whatever, the ones who are not Muslim, I got to wait till all the Muslims get their act together, then we make da'wah to them? Nope, that ain't right either. Some people think da'wah is just what I'm doing right now. Like imam or sheikh or da'i or talib al-ilm in the front, everybody else listening, right? This is da'wah. And that's also only partially right. Because some people think that's all that da'wah is. And so that means what? The people got to come to the imam. The people got to come to the sheikh. And the sheikh, he ain't got to meet the people on their level, etc. Also, that's not completely what da'wah is. But inshallah, we'll clear all that up, inshallah, in the third session. But the third thing we need is da'wah. That inviting, that invitation, that call. And then the fourth thing, brothers and sisters, that we need is we got to have patience. And that's also something that sometimes people think they understand too. But inshallah, when we talk about it, you're going to see that it's a lot more than what we oftentimes think it is. Sometimes people make da'wah, some people study and learn, and they do that for like a week or two, a month or two, a year or two, and they be like, khalas, that's it. Or some people, right, because they were born Muslim, they think they did all the learning about Islam that they needed back home. They're like, khalas, I remember in my village, I remember in my town, I remember whatever. Like, khalas, we learned. How to read Quran, fatha kasra damma, alif fatha a, alif kasra e, alif damma u, a, e, u, ba fatha ba. And they'd be like, khalas, I did that when I was a kid. I don't need to learn anything else about Islam. I already know how to pray. I know how to make wudu. Khalas. That's enough. But then you got to ask yourself, okay, since we're all having this conversation right here in South Minneapolis, in Minnesota, and not back home, did you ever have to deal with a mortgage back home? Did you ever have to deal with college loans? Did you have teenage children that you had to raise? Did you have to deal with non-Muslims? Some of us, we come from places where we don't even ever see non-Muslims. Your whole village is Muslim. Your whole town is Muslim. Maybe some places, your whole country is Muslim. So then, did you learn how to deal with non-Muslims? Most of the time, people don't even think about it. They'd be like, khalas, I go to work, I go to school, my kids go to school, I deal with them if I have to go to the hospital, I deal with them if I need to go to a government office, I deal with them if I need to catch a cab, I deal with them if they got to get into my cab. But other than that, Islamically, how I'm supposed to deal with them, I don't know. That's the invitation and the da'wah thing. And then sometimes, mashallah, tabarakallah, some people do put some effort in. They learn, they start trying to practice, but then that whole da'wah thing, they do it like a little bit or for a little while. They get excited. They heard a lecture. Mashallah, tabarakallah. They went to a conference. They heard a tape. Well, astaghfirullah, it's 2018 anyway. Nobody uses tapes no more. But they heard a lecture or whatever. Then they're excited for a little bit, but then they ain't got no patience. And some people think patience is 1 month, 2 months, a year, 2 years, or once my kids are grown. You're going to see, brothers and sisters, being patient is far longer than we all think. As long as you're breathing, you got to be patient. But inshallah, we'll discuss that in the fourth session, inshallah ta'ala. So the first thing that we want to talk about today is knowledge, sacred knowledge. That is the first component that is needed in order to have a Muslim community, to have, an Islamic community. And why do I say that? Because as human beings, we are so diverse. There are so many of us with different cultures, with different backgrounds. We speak different languages. We have different social economic statuses. And that's the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Hujurat, Ya ayyuhan nas, Ya ayyuhan nas, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha, wa ja'alnakum shu'uban وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. Right? Now, can somebody please get the little sister? That's also Hamid's daughter. If you want to take him up, inshallah. Now, and so, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He made us different. There is a deep and divine wisdom in that. And it's deliberate. It's not haphazard or on accident. Because somebody might say, well, wouldn't it be better if Allah just made us all the same so we'd never have any disagreements, arguments, back and forth? Because we'd all be the same. That would seem like it would make everything easier for us. But then life would, to be honest, life would be boring. It'd be uninteresting. Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He did it for a divine wisdom and reason. That He made us from one man and one woman. And that reminds us of our singular origin, irrespective of what color we are, irrespective of what language we speak, irrespective of what neighborhood we come from, or how much money you have or don't have. We all come from one male and one female. And who is that, everybody? I'm sorry, who is that, everybody? Adam and Eve. That's all of our mama and daddy. For everybody. That's your mom and my dad, and my mom and your dad. All of us. We all come from Adam and Eve. So for that reason, none of us are better than the other. Because we all come from the same place. Essentially. Then He says, Allah says, وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who made it that we're different nations, we're different tribes, we're different clans, we're different languages. Allah did that. So for that reason, that means what? That means no clan or tribe is better than the other. Because Allah did that, not us. No matter what tribe or clan you came from, that's Allah's doing. So how you going to brag about something that you didn't even do? How are you going to boast about something that ain't got nothing to do with you? You can't. Well, I mean, you could, but then it wouldn't make no sense. Because you bragging about something that you didn't do. And matter of fact, you don't even have a choice in it. None of us have a choice of who our mom and dads are. None of us have a choice of where we're born. That has nothing to do with you. And for that reason, you can't be held accountable for that. And also for that reason, you can't think you're better than somebody else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did that. Tayyib, He made us different nations, right? But why? Why did He do that though? He explains. He said, لِتَعَارَفُوا, so that we could get to know one another. So that we could find out about each other. So that there would be diversity. We're not supposed to be monolithic. There's supposed to be human differences between us. That's one of the most beautiful things about Islam. One of the most beautiful things about Islam. Unlike if you go to a church right now, I guarantee you, go to a church in Egan, it's going to be nothing but white people. Go to a church over here. Well, this is South Minneapolis. I'm used to being in North Minneapolis. Go to any church in North Minneapolis. It's going to be all African Americans. And they pride themselves on that. They pride themselves on that their group is monolithic, that we all the same. But in Islam, look, I'm up here talking. But I'm not from the same place that a good number of people or the majority of the people in the masjid are from. I'm not from there. And some of the people right here right now, some of them are not Oromo. But there's some Oromo, there's some African Americans, brother from Guyana. We got sisters from different places. That's supposed to be celebrated. That's something beautiful. We should look for more of that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did that intentionally and deliberately. So that we could get to know one another and we benefit from each other. Brother has skills that I don't have. Sister has knowledge that I don't have. Brother's got a skill set that I don't have, or some information, whatever. And we're supposed to complement each other and benefit from one another. And in the way that people are better than another is by their nearness and their relationship and their closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. That the most God-fearing, the most righteous, the most pious, that person is better than somebody else. That means what? That could be any one of us. That means no white person just by virtue is just better than everybody else. No, 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 no. It don't work that way. That means no Oromo person is better than everybody else. No, 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 no. It don't work that way. That means no African American person just by default is better than everybody else. No, 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 no. No Arab person is better than everybody else. It don't work that way. We gauge each other. Oftentimes, human beings, we gauge each other and deal with each other like that. But that's not how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala measures the worth of a person. Allah doesn't measure the worth of a human being by how much money they got, by their status, by their color, by their language. Because again, that goes back to what? He did that. So he doesn't need to gauge you and judge you based on what he did. So then now, that whole diversity, what is the common thread between all of us? What is the thing that binds all of us together? Right? That does make us unified and does make us, to a degree, like the same. Is that we all say, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. Because you say that and I say that, in that regard, we're the same. Because you say that and I say that, we're the same. And he says that and he says that and she says it. Well, in that regards, we're the same. And then on top of that, that statement, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, it has certain implications. It has certain ramifications. If you really say that, there's certain things that got to come from you. When you say La ilaha illallah, that's related to Allah, that there's no God worthy of worship except Allah, and he's the only one deserving of worship. We don't associate partners with him. He ain't got no kids, etc. All of that, right? But then there's the Quran. That's the speech of Allah. The Quran, how do we know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us? How do we know how to worship him? How do we know how to pray to him? How do we know what it means to be a good human being, a good person, a good husband, a good father, a good sister, a good brother? All of that. How do we know that? From the Quran. So when you say La ilaha illallah and you swear fealty and loyalty and uphold that to Allah, that means if you want to know details about it, you got to go to his book. And that's the common denominator between all of us. That we all got to respect Allah and his book. I may not like the food you eat. You might not like the food I eat. But that's okay. We can be different like that. You don't have to love or like my culture. I don't have to like the kind of clothes that you wear, assuming that it's Islamic. But I don't have to, right, get down like the way you do and vice versa. You don't have to. That's what makes us, mashallah, diverse. That's what gives Islam its flavor and its beauty. When you go to Nigeria, they have Islamic garb, things that uniquely identify them as Muslims, but they're also uniquely Nigerian. And if you go to Gambia, and if you go to Saudi Arabia, and if you go to Egypt, and if you go to Indonesia, Malaysia, they all wear different clothes, but it's still Islam, it has Islamic ramifications, but that's their culture. Things that are, like if you, like when we were at the university, in the Islamic University of Medina, there's more than 187 countries represented. Meaning students there, out of the, I think 8,000 some odd students, they're from 187 different countries that are represented there. And you can tell each and every one of them by their clothes, the way they dress. Like, if I see a brother from Malaysia and Indonesia, I know right away. They got a certain kind of kufi that they wear. They got the izar that they wear with the pants and the shirt. And they make it look good, mashallah. But that's not me though. And that's okay. I don't have to dress like that. And vice versa. They don't have to dress the way I do. But they have to respect the Quran. And I got to respect the Quran. And every last one of us, if you say La ilaha illallah, all of us got to respect that. All of us have to obey that. All of us have to stay away from whatever the Quran says. We all got to do that. Does that make sense, y'all, so far? Tayyib. And then the second thing is Muhammadur Rasulullah, the legacy and the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We all have to obey the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We all have to follow his example. If you say Muhammadur Rasulullah, or excuse me, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, if you say I bear witness that Muhammad is the apostle of God, the messenger of God, you have to love him, you have to obey him, you have to believe in him and anything that he tells you, and you have to stay away from whatever he will prohibit. All of that is entailed when you say ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And we all say, raise your hand right now if you say la ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. Everybody up in this room. That means all of you have to, you all have to, those are the implications. That you follow the Quran and that you follow the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what's this got to do with knowledge? When I said we have to have sacred knowledge. Often, as human beings, us being diverse, a part of that, brothers and sisters, is that we will disagree. We will have issues. We will have problems. We will have arguments. That is inevitable. It's a part of being different. It's inevitable. It's a part of being a human being. You're going to disagree with somebody. But when you do, you have a common marji', you have a common place that you all go back to. Allah said and his messenger said. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he makes this a marker of faith, a marker of iman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِيمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَجِدُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرَجًا مِمَّا قَضَيْتَ وَيُسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. Allah says, and look it, pay attention now, because Allah swears. That means whatever he's about to say is serious. It's important and you need to pay attention. Allah says, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ, nay, by your Lord. Look, Allah swears on himself. And he says, لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, they are not really believers. They're faking it. They're not real. They're not sincere. They're not really mu'minun. لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ, until they make the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam a judge. When? فِيمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ, whenever they disagree and don't see eye to eye on something. And I'm not talking about don't see eye to eye on something that you're in your house. I'm not talking about see eye to eye when we're talking outside. I'm talking about here in this place, when we all come together as Muslims and with other believers and we all say la ilaha illallah. If we disagree on something in the religion, I'm not talking about how you spend your quality time with your family. I'm talking about in the religion. If we disagree, we have to make the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam a judge. Fima shajara bainahum, in whatever we differ in. And then not only on top of that, ثُمَّ لَا يَجِدُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرَجًا مِمَّا قَضَيْتَ, and that not only that, we have no problem. لَا يَجِدُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرَجًا, you ain't got no problem in your heart. مِمَّا قَضَيْتَ, with whatever the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam judges. وَيُسَلِّمُ تَسْلِيمًا, and then not only that, you happily surrender. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said, خلاص على عين والرأس. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that because what is he going to judge by except by the book of Allah? Allah said that in the Quran, and the Prophet ﷺ said, خلاص, I'm happy to do that. That's what I got to do? Riba, haram? It's difficult, but I'm happy. Because Allah ain't going to tell me to do something unless it's the best thing for me. What? I can't open that kind of business? Man, I'd have made a lot of money, but Allah said it's haram. Man, Allah ain't going to tell me nothing except that it's the best thing for me. I'm happy. And I ain't doing it. Khalas. What? I can't wear those kind of clothes? Man, it looks nice. It's the fad. Everybody's doing it. But Allah said I can't do that. The Prophet ﷺ said, well, yusallimu taslima. They're happy. They give in. They surrender. Khalas. Jazakallah khair. And subhanallah, we can't cultivate that attitude and that level of submission until you learn about the deen. If you look at a lot of the masajid and in our community between husband and wife, oftentimes the problems and issues that they have between each other is because not once did they ever sit down and read a book about the Islamic perspective on marriage. Oftentimes in our community, and by the way, I have a workshop. I have a workshop on premarital, right? Premarital workshop. And the whole reason why I even did it is because of how many times I came across couples, young couples, older couples, brothers and sisters who've been married for 15, 20 years and then got a divorce. And I asked them every time, brother, did you ever take a class or ask an imam about the rights of marriage or the regulations and the rules about marriage, the rights of your wife? And he'd be like, nah, Shay, I didn't do that. Like, did you even, I mean, anything, a book, a YouTube video, a podcast, nothing. Sister, and then I asked the sisters the same question. Sister, did you ever, I don't care what, did you go to an event or something, anything? An article, did you read a pamphlet? And they're like, nah, I didn't. I met the brother, mashallah. I like the way his jeans fit, alhamdulillah. Sister, the brother, he likes her. He liked the way her hijab is and the way she talked. And khalas, we got together. And bas. And then 3 months later, a year later, they're wondering why they're having problems. Because the sister, from an Islamic perspective, she has no idea what it means to be a Muslim wife. And the husband, Allah musta'an, same way. He's in the same boat. He has no idea what is due to his wife. So what do people do in that position? 9.5 times out of 10, they revert back to their instincts. However they grew up. Whatever they knew, right? Whatever they saw from their parents, that's what they do. People, how to raise their children, Islamically. We got, how many of us are complaining? We just had another brother shot 7, 8 times by another Muslim young man. Did that not just happen a week ago? Didn't they just pray his janazah? Tuesday. Shot by another young Muslim. Hand over fist, we are losing our generation of young people, right? But I wonder, out of all of those kids, because, and this is just a statement of fact, brothers and sisters. It's not to point the finger at anybody. For the most part, they're from the immigrant community. They're our community. They're our brothers and sisters. And I'm not saying there's not other communities, but the ones where it's like we praying these janazas for this specific reason of Muslims shooting other Muslims and this violence and stuff like that. First generation Muslims. And I wonder how many of their parents ever took a parenting workshop or a class on Islamic parenting, the Islamic perspective. Or a workshop, or went to the sheikh or the imam and not just said, Imam, read Quran on my son. He's 17 years old and he's a knucklehead. Read Quran on him. Or not because the daughter, because she's talking to some dude and she says she wants to marry a Faranji. Now come and read Quran on my daughter. She's crazy. No. I'm talking about before that. How many parents are like, man, subhanallah, back home, it would have been easy. Back home, and it would have been. Because back home, you're not by yourself. The American family unit is mom, dad, son, daughter, bus. That's it. That's the family unit in America. And you are by yourself. Don't you dare go and ask your brother for some help. Don't ask him for help, no rent money. Don't ask your cousin or your auntie for some help for some, what? To buy your kids some shoes? We in America, you better go on and get some work. That's how it is here in America. But back home, you live in your house, and next door is your cousin, and behind that is your auntie, and then the side is your sister. You don't have to worry about daycare. You don't have to worry about paying for anything. You don't have to worry about if you ain't got enough for shoes, you can go and just get some for your cousin. That's how it was back home. Am I lying, Sheikh? Is it not back home like that? I know it is, because that's where my mom and dad came from, and that's exactly what they tell me. That's exactly what it's like. But it ain't like that here. How many single moms you see with their kids at the YMCA or at LA Fitness or Lifetime because they don't have nothing to do. They don't know what to do with their kids. They're like, all right, if I put him in this activity and I'm going to stay here all day with him and let him. But if you stopped and asked those parents, a lot of times, more often than not, all right, okay, yes, it's hard. We out here. We struggling. It's rough out here. But did you ever learn what it means to raise your kids here in America? Did you take the time to figure out what it means? Because it's not like back there. Okay, you don't know. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But did you find out and learn and understand? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told us, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of remembrance if it is that you don't know. So how many of them have done that? Read a book. Watched a video, taken a workshop. Heck, if you're at a masjid that has an imam who's knowledgeable, how many parents have said, Imam, I haven't heard you give a workshop on parenting. Could you please do that? We would like to, because we're talking about the Islamic perspective. How many parents, moms and dads, I'm sure they've complained about it. I know they do. But how many of them said, gone to the imam, gone to the sheikh, gone to the admin of a masjid and be like, yeah, sheikh, we have all our kids here and we bring them. Can you please tell us? We don't want to leave it all on you in the madrasa. We don't want to leave it all on you and people who are hired. We want to know what we can do in our part too. Have you done that? Again, it goes back to what? Knowledge. And subhanallah. Also, we see that's like family. We said husband and wife, right? And we said with children. Even as individuals. Even as individuals. We have young people born Muslim, right? And the only thing they've ever learned is what I said earlier. A, I, U, ba, bi, bu, ta, ti, tu, tha, thi, right? And you can go through the whole thing. But you know, the thing is, me and I teach in a weekend school, they don't ask me that question. They don't ask me about fatha, kasra, and dhamma, the short vowels and the long vowels in Arabic. You know what kind of questions they be asking me? Or when I'm a chaplain at the U of M, or if I go visit in North Hennepin County, or excuse me, Hennepin County Homeschool, which don't let the name fool you, that's juvenile detention for kids. You know what kind of question they ask me? How do I know there's really a God? How do we know that Islam is right? There's Christians, they say they have a religion. How do we know that's not the right one? My 8-year-old daughter asked me, she said, Baba, can I have non-Muslim friends? And I was just like, subhanallah. 8 years old, mashallah. She goes to a school where it's like 98% Muslim. She's 8 years old. And I ask you, any of you who are parents who went from back home, would you ever think to ask your family that question? You would have never thought to ask your family that question because you didn't have to worry about it because half the little area was your family anyways. You didn't have to worry about social gatherings and stuff like that. You didn't have to worry about it. But our kids today, I'm telling you, my own daughter, that's the kind of questions they be asking. So what do they need? They need knowledge. And if they're 8 years old, who needs the knowledge first before that 8-year-old? Who needs the knowledge? The mom and dad need the knowledge first. I say, alhamdulillah, my daughter asked me and not her non-Muslim teacher. Me, the parent, I need that knowledge first. Which means what? I need to know more than what I probably learned in madrasa. Because in madrasa, oftentimes they were built in such a way that you learn how to read Quran, you learn the fiqh of salah, tahara, 5 pillars, and that's about it. And maybe some stories of the prophets, and maybe some stories of the sahaba, and khalas. But I'm saying they asking deep philosophical questions. Again, the only way to deal with that is knowledge. Sacred knowledge. Not knowledge from, you know what I'm saying, from anywhere, but from Allah said, His Messenger said. That's the that has to be the starting point. And then of course that expands and goes out, parenting tips, etc. Right? Child rearing tips, etc. Marriage tips, etc. There's other things you can benefit from, but the one that is a common denominator for all of us is what? Knowledge of the book of Allah and knowledge of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Let me give you another example. I said that when you go to the masjid on any given day, the main times that it's busy is on Friday for the khutbah, right? A little bit before, because mashallah, people come early. The khutbah itself, and then after. But then after that, more often than not, there's barely any people at the masjid. And then on Saturday and Sunday, what do you see at the masjid, at most masjid on Saturday and Sunday? It's not a rhetorical question. I'm really asking all of you, and I want you to tell me, what do you see on Saturday and Sunday? For most masjids, even if the masjid is empty all of the rest of the week, what do we see? Madrasa. But what's madrasa, brother? Children. Is it just 1 or 2 kids? 5 kids? 10 kids? 30 kids? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. The masjid is full of kids. But as soon as Saturday, Sunday madrasa is done, are there any kids at the masjid? Sometimes they don't even stay and wait for the salat, to pray the salat. After madrasa is done, there's salat right after. So they don't. Some of the parents and the kids, they don't even wait for the salat. They leave right away as soon as they're done with the madrasa. And then the rest of the time, do you see any kids there at the masjid? No, you don't. No, you don't. But that's not even my point, though. What about the people who drop those kids off? The parents. They tell their kids, you have to read Quran. They tell their kids, you have to memorize your ashar, your subah, or whatever you want to call it, your dars. The amount that you have to memorize. They tell them, you got to, you got to. But then if you were to ask that same parent who pays $50, $60 to bring their kid, be like, how many halaqas you go to? What madrasa do you go to? Ooh, it's quiet then. It's quiet then. The dad, he might be able to say, the dad, he can say, I go for Jumu'ah. But for Jumu'ah, half the time, right, you're driving to get there and come about 15 minutes late. And the other half, you're sitting in the khutbah wondering when is the imam going to finish because you got to go back to work. Half the time you're spending on the road to get there and then come late. And then the other half, while you're there, you're wondering when is the imam going to be quiet because I got to go to work. And then you'd be like, mashallah, he finally, alhamdulillah, this dude's finally quiet. Allahu Akbar, I got to hurry up, man. Get my break so I can have my sandwich and go back to work. Or your hulba or whatever it is that you eat. Now, but if you ask them, they don't learn. They make sure their kids sit down and read Quran, but if you ask them how much Quran you read every day, maybe in Ramadan, maybe that 10 minutes when they came and they're waiting for the Jumu'ah, the few good, mashallah, right, that come early or were able to come early, they sit and read maybe 15 minutes, maybe Surat Kahf, but that's it. But they make sure their kids read. And subhanallah, what did the Prophet say, or what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu lima taquluna ma la taf'alun kabura maqtan 'inda Allahi an taqulu ma la taf'alun. Allah said, oh you who believe. And again, it's the Quran. And Allah said, oh you who believe. That means he's talking to every last one of us up in here. He said, why do you say one thing that you don't even do it? Why would you say something and you don't even do it? Kabura maqtan inda Allah. Hated and despised by Allah is it that you say something and you don't do it. And matter of fact, when you think about children and just human beings in general, don't nobody like that. Nobody likes to be told one thing and then see that person doing something else. Nobody likes that. You lose respect for those kind of people. Imagine your boss. Imagine you going to work. And your boss, on average, shows up an hour and a half late every day. And leaves an hour early every day. And you come 5 minutes late one day. And your boss come and talk to you like, hey, what's going on, man? 5 minutes late. We don't pay you to be late. How would you look at him? You'd have no respect for him. You'd be like, get up out my face. Well, you might not say that, but you feel like you'd want to say, get out my face. You come late every day. Why? Because he's telling you one thing, but you see him doing something else. Nobody respects that. And children are no exception. That type of parenting, do as I say and not as I do, that don't work. And you see it in our community all the time. And again, it stems from a lack of knowledge. Y'all, how many of you here, now again, not a rhetorical question, raise your hand. How many of y'all know what qat is? Barcha, mira. You know what that is, right? Y'all know what that is. What kind of dad does that every Friday or Saturday and his mouth is like this? And he's hanging out with his friends. And he's drinking tea. And they have argila or the shisha. You know the hookah? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Or you don't know? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. The hookah. Okay, tayyib. Bismillah. Allahu Akbar. SubhanAllah. Allahu Akbar. Ahlan wa sahlan. We welcome you, brother. We're so happy that you're here. Subhanallah. Allah understand. Allah understand. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. And so now, subhanallah, may Allah bless you, brother. May Allah make you steadfast. Allah understand. No. Alhamdulillah, may Allah protect you and your family and your children. Allahumma ameen. And everybody's children here. Allahumma ameen. Speaks for itself. Of course. Of course it does. That's why we said it's when we said what? We said community, to make a Muslim community. And we can't just say it's everybody here. And we'll get to that, inshallah. And we'll get to that. But we said about the father though, right? Any father. What would he look like? He does that for his kids. That he does that himself and then tells his kids, I better not catch you smoking marijuana. To his daughter, he says, I better not catch you smoking marijuana. Now to that kid, he might be like, what's the difference? Everybody does it. It's about to be legal anyways. It's well on its way. And believe you me, it's going to happen. May Allah protect us. Allah knows best. I don't know the future. But any state that legalized it medically, that was like the first step to legalize it recreationally. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect the Muslims here. Allahumma ameen. But what would be the difference? Your son might be like, that's not really from where I come from. But they seem to be the same thing. What's wrong with you doing that? How come I can't do this? I'll do it at home. I'll only do it with friends and we'll be at home. Just like you. You sit at home and you chew. What's the big deal? Or what's wrong if we drink a little bit? We'll do it at home. We won't go out. Or if you tell them don't smoke cigarettes, what's the difference? Kids, they see that. They're not stupid. They understand that. They see that. That contradiction, that do as I say, not as I do, to our fitrah, we don't like that. The human being hates that. And all the children are waiting for is to be old enough where you can't tell me what to do no more. And then just like you do whatever you want to, and you just tell me something different, I'm just waiting till I can do whatever I want to. That's all. Okay, you can tell me now, because yeah, you pay for my room and my food and stuff, but wait till I get up. And oftentimes, they're not even waiting. Oftentimes, they're not even waiting till they get out the house. How many parents we know that complain, they be like, right now, my son won't do what I tell him. My daughter won't do what I tell them. And inshallah, you just tell me when it's time for the adhan, and khalas, I'll stop. No? No. So inshallah, we'll continue after the salat, inshallah. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. No. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah محمد رسول الله يا الله انتهى انتكو فقفت عن خلق كوني إسلام معاني مبان عن وقسيس نسيدني